4, 3, 2, 1. Maybe we're live. Whee! Looks like we're going live. And the sound's working. The quality of your sleep is killing you, or maybe it's keeping you alive. The quality of your sleep. Let's try it again. The quality of your sleep is killing you, or maybe it's keeping you alive. Anyway, that's what we're going to talk about this morning because it's Monday morning. Good morning, friends. I hope you're doing well. And as you can see, I am actually somewhat out of my sport attire and ready to start today because I need to be at work punctually, on time and early. This morning, usually I have a bit of leeway, but this morning, no such luck, sadly. So I am already dressed and ready to go, but in being dressed and ready to go, I had a couple of minutes to spare, so I thought I would drop by while I make my cup of coffee and we can talk about health, fitness, and longevity, and of course, in particular, this morning, sleep, because it is Monday morning. For those of you who are watching, thanks for dropping by. My name is Toby. I am 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. The last couple of days I haven't been able to do a lot of training because I was struck by the common cold. First time in a long time, actually, but no more unpleasant than usual. Some things don't change, including that virus, I guess. I seem to be mostly over it, still feeling a little bit tired today, but I feel well enough rested and ready to get back. Two things. I did skip this morning's workout, but we are going to hopefully pick that up again tomorrow because I need to get moving and keep moving. And I did order a weighted vest, so let's see what updates I can bring you from that. All right, let's see. If you're interested, by the way, in everything that I talk about sleep, I talk about nutrition, I talk about movement training, I talk about connection, friendships, I talk about mastery, hobbies, I discuss motivation, or habits and routines, systems, and we do some reflections on Sundays. Then go ahead, hit like, subscribe, and we can continue the conversation either in this podcast or on any of my workout live streams or in one of my shorts or other videos where we can discuss any of these topics in a variety of ways, and hopefully that's useful for you. But this morning it's podcast. We've done the hook and intro. Usually I talk about today's training, but today's training is non-existent because sometimes when you're ill you need to take it easy. So we'll move right on to today's topic, which is sleep, and specifically the sleep quality, I think, is an important one. And I think it's one that we underestimate in favor of quantity, right? But I always say sleep is quality over quantity, and food is quantity over quality. In other words, with sleep, we need to be mindful of how well we're sleeping. When we're eating, we need to be mindful of how much we're eating for different reasons and different health outcomes. But I think sleep quality is an interesting topic, and I'm not an expert on it, so I'm going to be referencing some of my notes here just to make sure that I hit the right beats and maybe set you off on a path to study and explore more. But one of the key measures of sleep quality apparently is continuity. So from the time that I sleep to the time that I wake up, how consistent is my sleep? And And hopefully you can do that without waking up frequently. And I think I told you like a week ago, I woke up at 12 and I only got back to sleep at 5 a.m., right? That definitely does not improve my sleep quality at all. But if I go to bed at 9 and I wake up at 3:30 or 4, but the sleep has been continuous, I usually feel pretty well rested. Okay, so trying to get that continuity in. And loud noises, you have little children or loud neighbors that interrupt the sleep, or if you have a phone that's beeping or blinking by your bedside, those are all things that can interrupt that sleep continuity, right? And that sleep continuity just is incredibly important for how well we sleep. Another way to look at that is how efficiently you sleep. So, for example, if you go to bed at 9, but you're lying in bed and scrolling or doing something else till midnight, and then you sleep till 6 a.m., sure, you've been in bed 9 hours, but you haven't slept for 9 hours. You may be resting, but also not really, because I think there's a lot of stimulation in scrolling, a lot of new information that is being processed by our brain, and that diminishes the quality of the sleep. So, I think the continuity and the efficiency are two things that we can exercise a lot of control over, right? We've talked about bedtime rituals. We've talked about setting a wake-up time and a bedtime, and dedicating that time to sleep and rest. Those are two things that we can definitely exert some control and power over in order to improve the quality of sleep. And the reason I always start with sleep and then food and then training and then connection and then hobbies is that I think there is an implied order in which to tackle certain problems. And I think when it comes to health, fitness, and longevity, sleep is so key that it should be one of our primary concerns and focuses to make sure that we're getting enough quality sleep most days of the week. I'd say aiming for 6 out of 7 is probably a good place to start. I would aim for 27 out of 30 or 31 days in the month, so to speak, at the moment, just to see what the benefits of continuous good sleep actually are. The health implications of sleep are tremendous, right? I think this is best illustrated just by that one simple fact that when we change the time, daylight saving times, right, the incidences of coronary instances go up. And that has something to do with the interrupted sleeping pattern and the hour of less sleep. Poor sleep interrupts metabolic and hormonal health because during sleep, our hormone regulation is aided and restored. Our regenerative systems, our restorative systems work very hard to make sure that everything normalizes or is set back to normal. It is probably one of the most important sets of time throughout a day to make sure that we stay fit and healthy. When we sleep well, our immune system functions better. I think one of the reasons that I probably caught a cold is because of those 2 or 3 nights of poor sleep at the end of last week. First there was the night of skip sleep, then there was a change of schedule because we had the theater show in the evening, and I think those 2 evenings probably slightly compromised my immune system, make me a bit more susceptible to viruses than I usually am, because overall I don't really get taken down by a bug that often. Right. And in my assessment of sleep, I've also talked about how proper sleep or lack of sleep affects brain function. How the prefrontal cortex will work differently, on a good night's sleep or on a poor night's sleep, how they function actually degrade, how it impedes our ability to make decisions and stay in control. So there are many good reasons to want to actually sleep well and to try to make the most of the sleeping time that we have available to us. All right. In the hierarchy of things, I think we generally jump to training and exercise and then to food, but we always skip sleep or tend to skip sleep when we're trying to, in our attempts to get fit and healthy. But focusing on sleep helps us exert more control over what we eat and learn better about what foods work for us and don't work for us. But it also will help us restore and regenerate from exercise and exertion, meaning that we get more out of the training that we're doing or the movement that we're doing than we would if we weren't sleeping properly and well. So just keep that in mind, all right? Now it's 6:21 a.m. I've been talking for, I think, 10-15 minutes. So it's time to look at the final section of the podcast, which is, well, what then is that one small change that we can make to sleep better? Okay. And I think this week what we're going to try to do is to take 10 minutes once we lie down in bed. Yeah. Take 10 minutes and read a couple of pages. Maybe it's 2 pages, maybe it's 3 pages, maybe it's only 1 page. But let's set the minimum at just reading 1 page before bed. And let's try, to read maybe 2 or 3 pages before shutting the book, turning off our minds, and going to sleep. So every day, pick a book, any book that you enjoy. The phone book would be an interesting one. That one will certainly put some people to sleep. But no, I'm kidding. Like just a book that has a good story, that is well written, that transports your mind somewhere else, and simply read 1 page at least, maybe 2 or 3 more, before putting the book away, turning off all the lights, and just lying in complete darkness, your mind having been distracted, hopefully enough for you to fall asleep in a dark room, because we probably already have the sleeping mask, we probably already have bedtime, and we probably already are taking control of our caffeine consumption after lunchtime. All of those things hopefully aiding our ability to get better quality and quantity of sleep. So read at least 1 page right before turning off the lights and going to bed. That's all I have for you today, friends. Thanks for dropping by, for saying hi. I hope you're doing well where you're at in the world. I know I am. 6:24 a.m. Having my cup of coffee, going to have my breakfast next, and then I have to head out. Remember, we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today who's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way, all right? There are enough people out there who want to put us down, so we'll lift ourselves up. And the only way to get anything done, friends, by showing up and doing the work. So I'll see you tomorrow, hopefully also for another workout. And remember, friend, if you're watching, subscribe.